Hi, welcome back to my sewing room here at the Sewing Project Sewing School. I'm Connie Koch, and I'm excited to bring you another sew along. And this time we're going to be doing these fabulous boots by Appletotes Company, and they're called the Darcy boots. And some of you might recognize the shape and the style. Now, the cool part about these boots are these are just strictly sewing. These boots were her in the hoop embroidery design. Let me just grab one because I just want to show you. If you can see that up close, that is the same style. The only difference is that there is a top overlay as well as it's not curved like a cowboy boot is. These are actually called her Carson boots, so they're unisex. She also has the Chelsea cowboy boot, which has some fabulous flowers on it. And I'm sorry, I don't have that to show you. But the beauty of that is if you can find your wings with sewing that part on, if you have an embroidery machine, you can totally definitely get some cowboy boots done too. I actually think these kind of look and reminiscent of more riding boots, except for with the twist of the toe is different than normal English riding boots. But anyway, we're going to have fun. So let's get started and let me tell you what we need to gather up and prep before we start sewing. Go to www.appletotes.com, grab your pattern if you do not have the Darcy boots. Okay, you have to purchase the pattern, and then you'll want to print out only the pattern sheet with the pattern on it. Do not cut them out. She gives you a fun, nice little list, but I will add to that. So we are doing this again, these boots with faux leathers. You can use real leather, but if you have scraps laying around, but you don't want it super thick. Okay, no marine vinyl. I chose for my faux leathers, I am going to do them two-toned, is a wonderful brown and a black. These are soft and pliable, and these have a little bit of a nice backing to them. It's not felt. It's not that felt stuff. It's nice, almost like upholstery type leather. Okay. Little thicker than garment weight, but not thick like marine vinyl. Let's do our sailboat thick. Okay. Then you'll want to gather up. We'll be using, let's talk glues. Hot glue. I use 3 different glues sometimes, so you always want to have it. I love this fabric tack. I based glue things. It's not for me a permanent thing, but sometimes I will use it. And I highly recommend this because when you do use it, you're able to sew over it without gumming up your needle. I also use the Fast Tacky Glue by Aleene's, and it is very, very thick. Oh, sorry, Fast Grab Tacky Glue by Aleene's. It's super thick. And so if you notice, I always have it laying upside down so it doesn't hurt my hands. Let's talk threads. Just regular construction thread. I would shy away from cotton thread. If you do have just all cotton thread in there, just get something that is a polyester mix or something that's a little more durable than just regular cotton, pure cotton thread. All right, so let's talk feet. All doll things is a 1/4 inch seam allowance for the most part, okay? We will be using other feet, but for the seaming, a 1/4 inch foot right here, okay, that's the one I use, is your best friend. We're also top stitching with faux leathers, and sometimes that can get sticky depending on your faux leathers. So I highly recommend a non-stick Teflon foot, or I know I shared this with you a little bit ago too, but this is that Creative Foot satin edge foot, and anything with a nice plastic clear back, that's great for top stitching as well as faux leather and everything. So that's something that you may want to invest in. If not, this is your best friend. Get a hold of one of these. They're universal. They can go most to any machine. So are these actually, but that will help you out. If you do not have a 1/4 inch foot, then I highly recommend making sure that you can move your needle over, or you have some type of guide that from the needle to where the edge of your fabric is will be 1/4 inch. Okay. All right, let's talk machine needles. Well, since we're doing faux leather and it is not super thick, we really do not need a leather needle. So we can just really use a universal. Okay, if you have universals, everybody has a universal needle on hand. Highly recommend an 80-12. 90-14s, we really don't need that big of a machine needle. So an 80-12, you can go a little lower, like a 70-10, or you can also get, which is fabulous, is the Microtex sharp needle, and that's a 70-10. Love these Microtex needles. That is my go-to machine needle for cotton, for anything except for knits, obviously, because it is a sharp needle. I'll probably be putting in my Microtex for the sew along. However, if you have a universal needle, use it. Just don't go a large needle. So 80-12 is perfect, or a 70-10 is also fine. Don't go any smaller and don't go any larger. And what do we need for our soles? Well, all right, some cardboard I got from the Fruit by the Foot that my daughter loves to eat. I do love my chipboard and I do utilize it, but I also cut that out with a scroll saw for so long, and I want to know everybody can make them and still make them great. We're going to be using this, and I'll show you all that when we get into it. The other thing that I like to use, these right here, are chopping mats. I got this at the Dollar Tree. You get 2 of these in a pack for $1, and you'll know why I use this as we get into the sew along for the prep. And 6mm foam. I chose black, okay, 6 or 5mm foam. You do want that. The other thing I don't have here is you can, for the inside lining of your soles, when we make them, you can also use a 2mm foam if you so choose. But this time around, I'm going to choose some of my cotton fabric. So you'll get to see how I do that on this sew along with using the fun little cottons I have for the inside of the boots. Can't forget, you'll definitely want a pencil. We use this a lot for marking, and a ultra fine Sharpie. Okay, that's the ultra fine one. We use that when we trace on our vinyl for our pattern pieces. So you definitely want those. And last but not least, double-sided sticky tape. Okay, you want to have that in your arsenal for cobbling, as well as some type of cobbling stand. I like this one. I got this off of Etsy, and you will see down below the link to where you can purchase one if you so choose. This happens to be the 18-inch doll shoe size. She does have a 14-inch for the little welly wishers. Or you need to utilize the bottom of your doll's foot. You have to have something to stabilize as we go into attaching our soles to our upper boot. All right, are we ready to get this stuff prepared? Let's get started. As you see here, I have my printed sheet laying on my table, okay? I'm going to be proceeding to trace each one of these pattern pieces with the exception of the trim. I just do that with a rotary cutter, and I don't feel the need to actually do that as a pattern piece. The only thing that I'm actually going to switch up for my boots is if you notice this upper trim has a cute little scalloped edge. I kind of want mine straight. I will just take a ruler and from one end to another end, just draw a straight line. So when I transfer it onto my template plastic, it will have a straight little edge. By all means, get the scalloped edge if you want. I just kind of want that look. I love the options. So off camera, I have traced the toe piece, or the vamp piece, as the pattern piece calls it. I have already traced the shaft of the boot onto my vinyl, as well as the sole, okay? And I've actually cut that one out because I want to show you what I do. So what you're going to see me here is, since I revamped that pattern piece, so you can see this, and I'm taking my Sharpie and trace right on that line. like I mark all my pattern templates. All right, Darcy boots, Appletotes, and this is upper trim, cut to vinyl. And there you have it. Make sure that my template tracing is just as the pattern pieces themselves. Sometimes it gets lost in translation. Okay, so once you get all that cut out, every single piece, just like the sole is huge and it matters. You will put it right up against your paper. That's why I didn't have you cut anything out. I have many times had to retrace the sole. So I will be doing that with every single piece I cut out. I'll cut it out and then I will lay it up against to make sure that it is perfect, spot on. All 4 pieces, all cut, checked, everything looks great. And now we get to trace it onto our faux leathers to get our pieces cut out. Okay, I have my faux leathers here and I have my pattern pieces here. This is what I decided. So this would be the trim and this would be the toe, and those are going to be the same color. And I'm going to do this one in black. So the whole big part of the boot will be black, and then the accents to me will be the toe as well as the upper trim piece. Let's put those off to the side and let's get the black done. We only need to cut 2. They do have a grain line. Okay, so here's a little tidbit for you. Stretch it. This is your cross grain. It will stretch more than your straight grain. The softer ones do have a definite grain line and you need to follow that. So with that, we want the most stretch going around her foot, which is lengthways. So I am not going to save right now. You can't. They will look weird. They will get off grain. They won't stretch for you. So this is definitely where we want to place it, even though it doesn't have a little arrow for those of you who are garment sewers. But I can put it upside down so I can get it super close. And then you just trace around. Use the appropriate marking tool for the backing. If you're not going to see a pencil, then don't use a pencil. So I have 2 there. I will set that aside. We'll move on to my brown. The black one actually happened to be yardage of mine. These are just one of those sheets that I got. So be aware of that. So always test it. So if you see that, stretch. So this is my cross grain. This is my straight grain. So all my pieces here will be going this way. And I need 2 of those and 2 of those. There we go. Now I got my 2 vamps, which are my toe pieces. I got my 2 upper trims. Now I just wanted to show you really fast that if you choose to get online faux leather sheets, which are amazing because there's tons of patterns, there's tons of things you can do. One of these sheets, I believe, you can also get one entire boot from. So here's this, and then I'll mark it here. You'll be able to get from one of these sheets, if you're not using any accent pieces with different colors, you can get one boot from one sheet. So that's really cool. Now I'm going to be cutting those out. They can be cut out obviously with really good fabric scissors because this is fabric backed, and I personally like mine, and I have never had issues going from faux leathers to even thicker faux leathers like vinyl to cottons and shears and all the other fabrics I work with. All cut out. There we have it. That's going to actually look really sharp when they're finished. I'm excited. Now let's get cutting everything that we need for our soles. I have my cardboard. Remember, I'm using the fruit roll-up little box that I recycled. And if you notice, I've already cut out 4 with this sole. It is not completely rounded. You definitely see a left side of a shoe. And a right side of a shoe. So we are going to trace and cut out of this cardboard box 3 rights and 3 lefts. I have 2 rights here and I have 2 lefts here. And so I just have to trace another, have a left and we have a right. And I'm going to write left and right. I'll know just right off my eyes look that what I have, those will be cut out just like those. So I'll have 6 total, 3 lefts and 3 rights. Next, we want to cut out our outer soles, which is our foam. You can use a pencil. I like to use a pen, trace 1 right and 1 left, but we definitely, okay, you can see that I have the right and the left done, and those will also get cut out. Okay, as you see, I did finish cutting them all out. So you should have 3 of each, your right and your left, and of the foam for the outer soles, you should have just only 2, 1 left, 1 right. So I'm going to push that aside. Now we have one more thing for our soles to cut out. And at the beginning of this video, I did mention you can use a 2mm foam and cut 1 right and 1 left out of that for the inner sole. But I chose to use one of my fun little cottons, and actually a sparkly linen is what this is, just a, you know, a little remnant. So how do you do that? Well, I'm going to show you how I do that, but this is how I make my own pattern piece. Some of the shoes and boots out there, if they are using a cotton lining for the inner sole, will actually have a pattern piece. Sometimes they don't. I just make my own. You'll want kind of plenty, and I'm doing it on the wrong side because I'm just laying my template down. This isn't going to be shown, so I'm using a pen. We are going out here, so I'm just going to kind of do the shape of the boot, about a 1/2 inch around. And I'll come curving in a little bit. And over here. That is going to be my inner sole lining. So I'm going to quickly, carefully cut both of those pieces out. You definitely can put a pin in here if you want. I just didn't have any handy. They stay. So there you go. I have now a right and a left inner sole lining. Okay. And that's it. We're finished. How simple is that? So take care with all your cutting and tracing. That will be the biggest part of your success as we proceed further along in constructing our Darcy boots.